we are going to start with a new topic, that is active and passive voice. So let us begin our lesson with the introduction to this topic. So first, let us have a look at this sentence. Sam kicked the ball. If I want to know what the verb is, I try and find out the action done. So what was the action done? The action was kicked. So kicked becomes the verb, and the verb is already in the past form. Now I need to ask the question as to who kicked. So I get the answer that Sam kicked. So Sam is the doer. By doer I mean the person who is doing the action. Sam is also the subject. Now I want to know as to what did Sam kick. So I get the answer that Sam kicked the ball. So the ball is the receiver of the action. That means the action was performed on the ball. So this is also known as the object or the receiver. So this format where your doer plus verb plus receiver is there, it is known as an active voice sentence. So now let us look at the next sentence. The ball was kicked by Sam. So once again in this sentence we need to look at the verb. But if you have a look at the verb, we have two words attached to it. One is the helping verb and the other is the main verb. So was kicked is the verb. That means helping verb plus main verb. Now children, this main verb is changed into the V3 form. Now if I want to know what was kicked, I get the answer the ball was kicked. So the ball is the receiver of the action. This is the receiver of the action or the object. But if we go to see, it is in the place of the subject. It is in the place of the subject, but it is the receiver of the action. Now I want to know as to who kicked the ball. I get the answer Sam. Sam kicked the ball. So over here Sam is the doer, but it is in the place of the object. This is in the place of the object. Now if you get to see this sentence, we have both the sentences written over here. But the difference is what? That both the sentences mean the same. But the difference is that in the passive sentence or the passive voice, we change the places of the receiver and the doer. The doer takes the place of the receiver and the receiver takes the place of the doer. So in this first sentence, we see that the receiver is after or the object is after the verb, and the doer or the subject is before the verb. But in this sentence, in the passive voice sentence, we have the receiver before the verb and we have the subject which was in the previous sentence in the or at the end of the verb. But we take another notice, and that is the word by. By is the preposition which is used after the verb and before the new object or the doer of the previous sentence in the passive voice. So now children, since we know the difference between an active and a passive voice sentence, let us understand what a voice is. Voice is that form of a verb which shows whether the subject of a verb is the doer of the action denoted by the verb or not. So we have two types of voices or two types of voice, that is the active voice and the passive voice. What is the rule to find out what sentence or which sentence is in the active voice? If your sentence starts with a subject, a verb and then an object, this is an example or the rule of a simple active voice sentence. But what is the rule for a passive voice sentence? In this, the sentence starts with the receiver and it has a helping verb, and then the verb is changed from the V2 form to the V3 form, and after that we add the preposition by and then we write the doer. Children, let us see these examples and change these sentences from the active voice to the passive voice. So let us have a look at the first sentence. Mummy baked a cake. If I want to know what the verb is, I have a look and I come to know that the verb is baked. Now, let us ask the question as to who baked. So we get the answer, mummy. So mummy is the doer or the subject. Now, if I want to know as to what did mummy bake, so I get the answer, mummy baked a cake. This is the receiver of the action or the object. Now, this is an example of an active voice sentence. Now, I need to change it into the passive voice. So, what do? I need to change places. In the above sentence, I started with the doer. But now, to write the passive voice sentence, I will start with the receiver of the action. This is going to be my new subject. So let us begin with the new subject or the receiver of the action. So a cake. Now after writing a cake, according to the rule, I need to write the helping verb. Since my new subject is in the singular form, I will be writing the helping verb was. Now after writing was, I need to write the verb in the V3 form. So bake, baked, baked. So, after writing the verb in the V3 form, I need to add the preposition by. So, after adding the preposition by, I need to write the new object or the doer of my previous sentence. So, what was my doer in the previous sentence? So, I will be writing by mummy. So this sentence is an example of how I have changed an active sentence into a passive sentence. So let us read the answer here. A cake was baked by mummy. Now children, let us have a look at the next example. Raju lifted a ladder. So once again, let us find out the verb. So the verb is lifted. Now, if I want to know who lifted, who is the doer, who is the subject in this sentence, I get Raju as the subject or the doer of my action. Now, what is the action performed? You know that the action performed is lifted. But what did Raju lift? So, Raju lifted a ladder. So, a ladder is the receiver of the action, or it is also the object. So this is an example of an active sentence. Now when we need to change this sentence into the passive form, we first need to change places. That means the subject takes the place of the object and the object takes the place of the subject. So let us begin our answer with the new subject. So what is the new subject over here? Since I have already told you that the object will take the place of the subject, we begin our answer with a ladder. Now, since we already have the verb in the V3 form and our new subject is a singular subject, so we write the verb or the helping verb was. Now we need to write the verb in the V3 form, that is lift, lifted, lifted. So, was lifted. So, we have the verb in the two forms, the helping verb and the main verb in the V3 form. Now, after writing the verb, we need to write the preposition by. And after writing the preposition by, we will be writing the new object or the doer of the action. So who is the doer of my action? Raju. So what's the answer over here? A ladder was lifted by Raju. So I hope children you have understood how many types of voices we have, an active voice and a passive voice, and how our sentence is changed from an active voice sentence into a passive voice sentence.